Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 37 of the Social Liability Podcast, the podcast where we take new and interesting stories from all over the internet of people violating the social contract we all agree to live by. I am your host, the Raz with my co-host, the Buck Rundle, and we have a plethora of technical difficulties, Buck. What the hell, man?
I still don't know what the actual problem was. It just magically unfucked itself, and I was like, "And good."
Oh shit! His stuff's working. Hit record, quick! Go, go, go!
It's like red light, red light, red light, red light, red light, green light. Yay!
Hey, what the hell? We're going. So we got a bunch of stories here. All the ones that you emailed to me because you couldn't even get shit to freaking come over our group chat. I mean, damn, man.
I know that was on my phone though, so
Fair enough.
lightning does strike twice.
So it's been a week. How's your week been, man?
I've been suffering this week, man. I've got a bad case of the cans, and it's something that disabled people go through every once in a while, and most other people do too. And it's when you sit around and you feel fucking sorry for yourself because I can't do this and I can't do this, and I've really been like doing that to myself this week for like the entire week, almost to the point where like even getting in the shower, I was like, I can't. Like it was just really bad, and hopefully here in the next hour or so, my childhood friend will grace my presence with him and his family, and we'll have a weekend, spoiling his kid rotten and eating junk food till our teeth fall out. It'll be great.
This is the guy that I think it's in one of the earlier podcasts. You talk about this guy showing up and eating all your Cheese Whiz. So you stocked up on Cheese Whiz?
I actually bought 2 cans.
I thought you told me you bought 3.
There might be 3. I don't know. I seriously ordered so much junk food that I don't really consider myself to be a responsible adult anymore. I'm just now going to classify myself as an adult.
Wow. So my week's been kind of like stupid. So for the listeners out there, we've said this multiple times. Everyone knows that you and I are originally from Pennsylvania. Now you live in Virginia, and I'm in Oklahoma. I'm trying to think of tactful way to put this. So up home, it was typical that schools got a 2-hour delay if the superintendent couldn't get out of their driveway. That was always the joke. What was it at your school?
There wasn't like a running theme. I just remember sitting there praying every time the snow would fall.
But you'd be looking outside and your car would be covered. And okay, you might get a 2-hour delay, but not always. And even if you got that 2-hour delay, you're like, yay! Then your parents are like, we're going to go outside and shovel. You're like, no!
Yeah, 2-hour delays is like a hand job on your honeymoon. It really is, but continue.
Dude, it dropped below freezing here, and it rained. So everything had a nice glaze of ice on there. And this town shut down. And I mean, it shut down. I started getting... We lost 3 vehicles over the course of 2 days to accidents. And literally... I gave out the order that if it didn't have a siren or a salt spreader on there, park it. We're not putting any of our vehicles on the street. Meanwhile, my ass is driving around in a Ford Escape, one hand on the steering wheel, listening to music, just driving around, surveying the carnage. The police department, they are literally 15 calls deep, and they can't get places because they're cars. I had to literally stop and get the police cars unstuck for these guys. It was at one point I came up on a street and there's a white pickup truck I didn't recognize. It had red and blues in the back window, and I was like, I don't know this guy. Who the heck is this? And I see way up ahead of him this black pickup truck in the middle of the road just spinning in circles. And then beyond that, I see one of our police cars that's lit up like a Christmas tree. And I walk up, and it's our county sheriff is in the pickup truck. And I said, "What the heck is going on?" He's like, "I don't know. I just don't know. I think that the officer up there might kill this guy." And about that time, I can hear, and I know who the officer is. I can hear him up there yelling, "You stupid mother!" Turns out this dude had been trying to get up this hill for half an hour and kept going up the hill, spinning all the way back down. Going up the hill, spinning all the way back down. The officer is telling him, "Just go down the other street, dude. You're not going to make it this way." And the guy wouldn't stop. So eventually he went down a side street and they both pulled him over and were like, "What the heck were you doing?" "I'm trying to get up the hill." "I told you no." He's like, "Why can't I go where I want to go?" And he's like, "Because the ice won't let you, stupid."
Yeah. You know, Mother Nature could give two shits about whatever you want to do or whatever your rights are. Like, Mother Nature doesn't care.
Nah, nah.
I have a right to go up the street. Yeah, until I freeze it over and make it slicker than goose shit. Like, boom.
But you know, I took my driving test in an ice storm. I mean, it was sleeting when I took when I took the actual like the written portion. You and I know exactly how to do with this stuff. But here you get a freaking snowflake and they lose their freaking minds. I mean, is it that way in Virginia too? Because you guys get snow there.
Oh, no. Virginia is completely loaded up. Like, the second that somebody says there might be a flurry, like, we pour enough salt on these roads to make the Dead Sea cry. I mean, like, that is just it at the end of the day. Virginia is ready to go. Now, when I lived in South Carolina, on the other hand, you know, I remember there was a two-inch snowfall that turned into ice in South Carolina, and it shut down everything for 2 weeks. I remember my ex-wife and I were sitting there, and we were like, Frosty didn't even have a wet fart, and they're canceling school for 2 weeks. Like, this is ridiculous. Yeah, my kids were like, "Yay, no school." I was like, "You two have no idea." When, like, school cancellations for me growing up, you know, up north, and like, Pennsylvania is like the Diet Coke of the North.
Yeah.
Like, like, it's not even up north, but compared to South Carolina, it's definitely, you know, whatever. But
Compared to South Carolina, you're in the Arctic Circle, baby.
I mean, like, you know, there'd have to be like a foot and a half, 2 feet of snow on the ground for them to even think about canceling school. You know, like, and 2 inches of snow. I mean, like, people were on the highway. Like, you'd have thought that it was the beginning of a zombie apocalypse because the roads were actually clear, but there were people fucking stopped with their thumbs up their asses, wondering what to do. They're like, "What do we do? What do we do?" It's like, proceed forward until you reach your destination, park your car, and stay the fuck home because you obviously should.
Dude, but I'm also seeing like all these people online that are like losing their minds because their kids that are distance learning aren't getting snow days. I'm like, "Are you stupid?" They're not getting snow days. Oh my God. Oh God. And they're like, "This is a rite of passage for children. Children always look forward to this." No, I mean, yeah. And then they complain when they're going to school in June. Okay, I mean, there's a double-edged sword to this, and I guarantee you that kids in Florida never sat around going, "I hope we have a snow day today."
You know, with distance learning, it's almost like every day is a snow day. You get your shit done, and then the rest of the day is yours.
Yeah, it is.
So
it is.
Who gives a shit?
It is. Okay, so we're full disclosure, folks. We're recording a little bit early because of Buck's little escapades today with his childhood heterosexual life mate, but. You know, it is now 9:58 a.m. according to my watch. My kids are done with their school. One of them is playing Halo right now. They're done. They get up at 7:30. They get something to eat. They sit down and they bang their workout and they're done. I mean, I would have killed for this opportunity when I was their age.
The laziest freaking shitbag student ever. But if you could have told me that I could do this shit on my couch from home without ever having to leave or go deal with anybody's, high school bullshit drama, I'd have been a valedictorian in my class.
Yeah. I mean, in all seriousness, I mean, so this wasn't available when you and I were kids, but I did college completely online. Completely. And, I went from a not great high school student to a 3.98 GPA. For some people, it works. Okay, quit complaining. But the biggest thing I was really upset about this week was our town has one of the biggest distribution points for the COVID-19 vaccines, and I was due to get my second injection Tuesday, and they closed it down because everyone was afraid of the ice, and I have still not got it yet. Supposedly, I'm getting it at 9:30 a.m. tomorrow. So we're crossing our fingers on that one. My wife was actually able to get into the hospital yesterday and get her first one because they happened to, they had already thawed them out, and they're like, what are we going to do with them? So they just put out a call, anybody over the age of 18, come get them. So she marched her butt right down there and got it. And I was calling employee. I couldn't give the bloody things away. I was actually pretty upset about it. But anyway, those are complaints for another time. Let's get into the funny and try to laugh about this. So, dude, I was going through the stories you sent, and there was one I was going to filter out just because it is literally 3 or 4 sentences. It's 4 sentences, Buck, but there's one line in here that I kind of had to comment on. So this is being reported by Wild 94.1. Yeah, radio station with a website. Don't ask me why. This is out of Orlando. So, Palm Harbor. Yeah, so this is in Orlando. So this is our first Florida man story of the day. But I'm not gonna. It doesn't deserve the theme song because it's not long enough. Tampa Bay civil rights protester included whipping out his wiener in traffic. Yeah. So let's read the whole story here. A Palm Harbor man named Riley James Cushman was arrested for indecent exposure after he told police he was, quote, protesting for civil rights by showing his penis in traffic, end quote. So what exactly did Mr. Riley do? He had his, quote, his pants down to his knees, holding his penis while facing traffic in a vulgar manner, end quote. After the police witnessed this action, he pulled up his pants and began walking away. When questioned, he told the cop that he was protesting for civil rights by showing his penis in traffic, but has now finished and wanted to go home. How does one hold their penis and face traffic in a vulgar manner?
I think, you know what? Maybe it's the face that they were making. I don't know.
It's funny because one of the criticisms we've gotten about this show is we mentioned the fact that we worked in a prison a lot. And I've actually gone back and listened. Yeah, we do mention it a lot. But there's a story. I think it's really relevant. There was a cell in one of our units that was completely made out of glass, and this was in order to observe them. And typically, if they were in that cell, you had a watch sheet. So you had a 5 and a 15-minute watch, and you would sit there and literally every 5 or 15 minutes, depending on the watch, you would document what the person was doing. And I was mad as hell that I got stuck on this duty one day, and I wrote exactly what the guy was doing. And I wrote things along the lines of, 053, inmate stroking, grasping penis with right hand, stroking in up and down manner vigorously, It's what he was doing, goddammit. But
you know what? That's what they wanted. That's what they got.
That's what they got, whether they liked it or not. I still can't figure out, though, what's the difference between grasping your penis in traffic and grasping your penis in traffic in a vulgar manner.
I still think that the face you're making makes the difference. That's the only.
It's the visual.
It's the visual.
Fair enough. Just so, depending on your face, it's not like sign language. Depending on the face you're making, it makes the context completely different. He might have just been out there enjoying his penis and showing it to the world, going, "Look how awesome my penis is." But that face, that changes it.
Now, what I have to ask is that if it were a topless lady, would the arresting cop have charged her with decent exposure?
Oh, that's bad. That's bad.
It is. It's a little chauvinistic, but you know what? I still think that opinions vary greatly, and I would have to classify a topless woman as decent exposure as opposed to a bombless man, where I would definitely call that indecent.
That's sexist.
No, that's that. I just got done saying that was my personal opinion.
Yeah, your opinion is sexist.
I'm a heterosexual male, so yeah, fine. Yeah, it's sexist, but it's not chauvinistic.
I didn't say it was chauvinistic. I said it was sexist.
Well, I'm agreeing with you. I'm just.
Then why are you arguing?
I'm just trying. I'm not arguing. I'm just trying to make it seem like I'm not a big bad monster. I just want to be a big monster.
Fair enough. Well, the next story is being reported by WFTV9 ABC News. I gotta say it like that. I don't know why. I just have to. This one's also coming out of Florida, but yet does not rate the Florida Man theme song. I'm saving that for a very particular Florida man. A man with a tattoo that reads, "Only God can judge me," on his left arm is wanted for selling an engagement ring and wedding band, or stealing, rather, a engagement ring and wedding band from his girlfriend to propose to another woman. Deputies said that Joseph Davis, 48, used fake name Joe Brown and Marcus Brown on a dating app OkCupid when he met both women in 2015 and 2016, respectively. Investigators say his girlfriend in Orange City discovered her boyfriend was actually engaged to another woman in Orlando. She told deputies that when she looked up the other woman on Facebook, she realized she was wearing a wedding band and engagement ring that was identical to her own from a prior marriage. When the woman checked her jewelry box, deputies said she noticed that both rings, as well as several other jewelry pieces, were missing. Deputies said the woman contacted her boyfriend's fiancé and got some of her belongings back. After both relationships ended due to infidelity, deputies said the women began cooperating with each other and with detectives. Oh,
yeah, buddy.
Dude, when they get together, you know you screwed.
Hell hath no fury.
Well, the Orlando fiancé told deputies Brown had fooled her too, even taking her to the Orange City girlfriend's house while she was at work, claiming the house was his, and asking her to move in with him. Wow. Deputies said the woman told... Awkward. Deputies said the woman told detectives she'd packed up her apartment, disassembled her furniture, and was ready to move until one day he told her the deal had fallen through. The fiancé also reported a laptop and jewelry missing from her apartment after Brown moved out and disappeared. Deputies said neither woman knew the man's real name, but they were able to track him down through one address the woman had been given of a niece he supposedly had in North Carolina. Deputies said they contacted the woman who lived in this address, and it turned out to be the man's sister. Deputies said the man identified as Joseph Davis had a record for has a record as a convicted felon in Oregon and North Carolina. He has an active arrest warrant in Oregon for a hit-and-run crash with injuries. Investigators said Davis had prior arrests, including possession of fictitious ID, filing a false police report, domestic assault, and possession of cocaine with intent to sell. In one of his out-of-the-state booking records from 2014, the jail listed a tattoo described as a cross with "Only God can judge me" on his left arm, identical to the tattoo both victims described their boyfriend/fiancé as having. Any information about Davis's whereabouts is asked to contact the sheriff's office. Blah blah blah. I mean, that's ballsy, man. Having the two families at once. That's big nuts. That's big nuts.
I'll tell you, the only thing that would have made this story go from like, mildly interesting where it sits right now to like blockbuster worthy is if the person they contacted in North Carolina wasn't his sister, it was like his real wife.
Oh!
It's like, yes, police got in touch with this lady in North Carolina who turned out to be the suspect's actual wife. That would have been That would have been like some M. Night Shyamalan stuff, like ooh and the twist.
What a
The
twist!
twist.
Well, I mean that's a pretty epic catfishing. I mean, it really is. you got
Yeah.
you got to give him credit, but at the same time, he is a scumbag, like an absolute scumbag. Ugh.
All I'm saying is that if Danny DeVito would have been involved in this story, we could have turned it into an episode of Always Sunny.
You know,
And that would have been.
I've never actually watched an episode of that.
It's all right.
Not a single one.
Nah, and I mean, like, the show is awesome. I'm saying it's all right that you haven't seen one.
Good. Well, that is a pretty epic tale of catfishing. But as we move down to Texas, to ABC 30 Action News. Woman out $100,000 after believing she was in a romance with Bruno Mars. Yeah. And Houston, Texas, even with Valentine's Day approaching, some romances, especially those involving a famous pop star, may not always be as they appear. Thanks for the creative writing there, ABC 30. Case in point, a Houston man appeared in court overnight accused of posing as recording artist Bruno Mars on Instagram to strike up with a romance with a woman and coax her out of $100,000. I can't pronounce this dude's name. I'm just going to call him Chinwendu. Yeah, Chinwendu. Was charged with third-degree felony money laundering last Monday, but was taken into custody this week. According to his charging documents, Chinwendu is charged in connection with a scheme that happened between September and October of 2018, involving a 63-year-old North Texas woman who believes she created an Instagram profile in search of companionship. She told investigators a person pretending to be Bruno Mars reached out to her and made her believe he was interested in pursuing a meaningful relationship. Okay. How interesting does your Instagram have to be for, Britney Spears to reach out and say, Buck, I'm going to need that disco stick?
It's happened.
Okay.
I don't think it's been the real Britney Spears, but I'm just letting you know that, yeah, I had somebody as real as the real Britney Spears prospect me the same as this real Bruno Mars prospected this woman. The difference is that I got a laugh out of it, whereas she lost $100,000.
Well, documents state that the woman fell in love with the Mars account, and at the time, she believed him to be the real singer because he sent her multiple texts and photos of the artist while he was on tour. She also told investigators he wanted to quit the tour to be with her. The Mars account then began asking the woman for money. According to investigators, she was asked to make a $10,000 check to a, quote, friend of the band for, quote, tour expenses. And then 2 days later, draw out more funds, this time amounting to $90,000. Each amount was deposited into separate accounts, which were held by Chinwendu and an alleged accomplice, Basil Amandi? Let's go with that, according to the document. After warrants were executed on the accounts, investigators found a $90,000 deposit in Chinwendu's account, which was later found to be withdrawn down to a balance of zero. Investigators then separately interviewed the two, and in a document, Amandi said he knew Chinwendu, but Chinwendu claimed not to know Amandi. For the reason for the $90,000 withdrawal. Both men were charged with money laundering, although Amandi's arrest record in the case was not immediately stated. In Harris County Probable Cause Court, Chinwendu's bail was set at $30,000. Well, he had $90,000, so he could probably bail out pretty quick.
I gotta say though, man, what are the names? Chinwendu and Amandi?
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like you're like telling the epic saga of like drama between two retired Jedi Knights.
I thought I was in a relationship with a Jedi Master, but it turns out he was just some Padawan trying to get my money.
No, Jedi Master is impersonating as Bruno Mars, and it worked.
And it
I mean,
worked.
like, no, empirical evidence doesn't lie. The dude ran away with $100,000.
He did.
So Chinwendu did some serious Jedi mind tricks.
Ugh. I mean, I don't even know. I feel bad for the woman, but it takes a certain level of stupidity to fall for that kind of stuff. And I have a hard
It
time feeling bad for that level of stupidity also. But at the same time, the woman isn't that incredibly dumb, but she also happened to have access to $100,000 pretty readily, apparently.
I will say that, you know, I can't classify that person as strictly stupid. Not based off the description, and I'll tell you why. A good friend of mine, very good friend of mine, 70 couple years old. Because again, remember, I don't have very many millennial friends anymore. So I just started to, after I retired, I was like, well, screw it, when in Rome. So I picked that, a buddy of mine and I are sitting here at my kitchen table one day, and he's telling me about this really hot chick that he met over in Ghana. Ghana.
Was she Nigerian
And
royalty?
no, federal aid worker was the story. And provided documentation like a photo ID and stuff like that, and like try and make herself look all legit. Actually, got my buddy to start sending her money.
How much?
And
How much?
by the time I got involved, he was already out $500.
Damn.
And then I got involved, and I looked at him and I went, "No,
You're a fucking
no more."
fool.
Well, I mean, you got to remember though, man. Like you and me are older than the fucking internet.
We are.
Okay.
That's sad, but we
Okay.
are.
So if we take somebody, my buddy, for instance, was a Vietnam War vet. The guy's almost 80 years old now. He doesn't know, like, he doesn't understand that this could be a scam. Like, that just doesn't register in his brain because these kinds of things did not exist, and people just didn't do shifty, shady shit like that back in his day. So, somebody comes up and says, "Oh yeah, I'm from this African country, blah blah blah. I want to be with you and give you a son," and started saying all the right things to my buddy, and I had to get two, not one but two retired police officers that I know, and a federal agent that I'm acquainted with, to actually run the information on this person. And the guy still didn't believe me after this scammer was debunked by the fucking, like, that's how far this got. And the only thing that convinced him this shit was fake was my wife comes up to him and goes, "Oh yeah, let's do a reverse Google search on the image here of this woman's account." And it turns out that the woman from Ghana was actually a porn star from New York, and was lifting Instagram pictures in order to send them to try and bait them into, believing her bullshit story. I mean, these scams are pretty elaborate. And I would say that the only thing that this woman is stupid about is romance. Because, she just got blinded by love. I won't classify her as just a complete all-around idiot. Just people when they get lonely, they're capable of making some very impulsive and very irrational decisions.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, prior to what I'm doing now, I was a pretty successful, I think, private investigator. And I did. When I really started my practice, I was doing a fidelity assurance, which is cheating spouse stuff. Unfortunately, there's just no money in it, so I kind of made the big leap and went over to workers' comp and insurance fraud and that kind of stuff. But when you're doing, what I tell people is generally, if you think someone's cheating on you, they are. If you suspect something, you're probably right. But there was more than one time where I'd get a phone call from a family member trying to say, "I need your help to prove that this person is a catfish, or this person's a scam artist for my father or my mother, my brother or my sister, or whatever." And I had to have those conversations with people where it's like, this is someone conning you. But at that point, they would literally get angry. They would be angry that you're telling them
Oh
this.
yeah, Oh yeah, they get pissed.
Oh yeah, and it's you can tell that there's eventually a switch that gets flipped where they know, like, yeah, I was this happened to me, and I'm angry, but that person's not in front of me. You are, and I'm going to be angry at somebody, and I'm going to take it out on you. I hated those cases. I really did. Because I hated breaking, because you're breaking someone's freaking heart. You know, I've been in relationships like boom, like a person is in front of me. I've never been in an online relationship where I fell in love with somebody. Full disclosure, though, I met my wife in a chat room. um, but the whole concept of somebody just falling madly in love with text conversation and maybe one or two pictures is just it's foreign to me. And this is the time that you and I grew up in. This is we are like the primary thing for this. Because
Yep.
like you said, we did grow up in a time without the internet. I remember the first website I ever went to. I really do. I remember the first website I ever went to, and it wasn't porn. So there are people that came after us are used to being in online, but the people came before us, they adopted it later in life. I think we're just like right there in that sweet spot where we understand how it works totally. Um, it's a sad thing. So on the show, we typically have a lot of Florida man stories, but the close second behind Florida is Australia. Like Australia as a whole is kind of like the Florida of the world. But in this case, this is being reported by 7 News. Sydney real estate agent Carl Howard accused of Viagra-fueled samurai sword attack. You can't make this shit up. A Sydney real estate agent accused of injuring one woman with a samurai sword and punching another in the face is now facing serious charges. Well, no shit. Carl Howard. Yeah, I was going to have a coughing fit there. Carl Howard.
I thought it was going to be a misdemeanor. I didn't know it was going to be a serious charge.
What do you mean this isn't a summary offense? Carl Howard, 44, was being treated at the Royal Prince Alfred Hospital for a shoulder injury on Wednesday when his case was mentioned in court. He is accused of punching a 27-year-old woman in the face early on Monday morning. He had then allegedly kissed her forcefully while strangling her. The woman's 29-year-old friend intervened, and police say Howard then slashed her arm with a samurai sword. I'm not laughing at the sexual assault. I'm not laughing at the physical harm. I'm just laughing at the fact this guy readily had available a fucking samurai sword. She managed to flee and alert police. Howard allegedly hid in a skip bin, a trash can, at the Annandale home before he was arrested. One of the women's lawyers told the court Howard had taken 4 Viagra pills before the alleged altercation, which may have influenced his behavior. I don't think I really want to blame it on the Viagra, but right on.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different causes for that kind of incident to happen. Why are you blaming the Viagra?
He said samurai sword, not the holy sword Excalibur, okay? I mean,
right.
That's what we call it. The only reason for a person taking 4 Viagra pills before strangling and forcing his tongue down someone's throat is he must have had a sexual intent. Or he was worried about hair loss. On Wednesday, Howard was recovering from surgery after injuring his shoulder during the arrest. His lawyer, John Sutton, in court described him as being in a, quote, bad way. And he didn't even apply for bail. Howard's clients have described him as a gentleman and professional. But following his arrest, Ray White formally stood him down. That doesn't make a lick of sense, but that's what it says. He'll return to court in April. So, pops 4 Viagra and decides he's gonna get him some. And when she objected, he happened to have a samurai sword at the ready.
Yeah. Yeah. There are just too many dots for me to connect to have an intelligent comment on this. Other than this guy's an idiot. Like, like samurai sword, Viagra pills, 2 women, sexual assault, tongue down the throat. I mean, like, it's almost like one of those random name generators. It's like,
it's like somebody wrote a story with a Mad Libs book.
Yeah, it's like, we're gonna commit a crime today. Let's spin the wheel and see what implements we have. Viagra, samurai sword.
So it was no. It's like a game of Clue. It was Carl Halbert. It was Carl Howard in the rape room with the samurai sword. I mean, Jesus Christ. Well, we're going into our third, count 'em, third Buck Florida man story of the day. And this is being reported by WCJB 20 ABC News out of Gainesville, Florida. A Florida man arrested for punching his girlfriend for changing channel during the Super Bowl. Okay, what's your opinion on the game of hand egg, Buck? Come on, Buck, talk.
Hand egg?
Hand egg.
Hand egg?
Hand egg.
What's hand egg?
Well, that's what I call football because you don't actually ever touch it with your feet except the kicker, and it's not shaped like a ball, it's shaped like an egg. So that makes it hand egg.
Now, see, I'm glad I asked for clarification because I thought you were talking about masturbating. And I was going to say, I don't have a favorite,
Technique.
whatever for that. But yeah, I defer to caregiver Katie for that. But I mean, hey, you know what? I mean, call a spade a spade. I'm handicapped, and she's my caregiver. And if she didn't do that, she'd be a caretaker.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
I don't see.
I'm afraid I'm scared her dad's gonna hear that. I'm sorry.
I'll check the analytics and see if there's anybody from his state listening. Oh, Jesus Christ. But I just don't see the fascination with football. I don't. I know I'm kind of like in the minority there, but I just don't see it. But I never would think it's really appropriate to punch somebody over changing the channel. But,
I mean, I like football so much I wouldn't even answer your question and tried to change the subject. I mean, that's how I feel about football. But
well,
no, man, I mean, I don't think that I would... Even things that I'm passionate about, I don't think I'd just punch somebody over changing a fucking channel.
Well, it gets worse. It really does. A man is behind bars after punching his girlfriend for changing the channel during the Super Bowl. Thomas White was charged with felony battery for intentionally striking a woman against her will and causing great bodily harm. Let's examine that sentence. Thomas was charged with felony battery for intentionally striking a woman against her will. So if she wanted it, it's okay. That's my take.
Well, yeah. Well, if she wanted it, then he would have consent, and then she wouldn't have called the cops to begin with. I mean, I don't think that the article should have been written that way.
No, probably not.
Kind of obvious.
It's like when you're writing the article. It's like, listen, I got this chick is into that shit. I'm gonna make sure she's represented, and I'm gonna write this.
Well, I mean, now it's birthing a whole slew of boys and men who are going around going, well, now I'm just going to ask a bitch if she wants to get hit.
Hey, you bitches want punched in the face? I kind of got a fetish.
It's like, dude's going to do it either way, but if he has consent, then at least he can avoid a street charge.
Chances are, if you get a room crowded enough, some chick will be like, yeah. Or some dude will go, I can wear a wig.
Blind squirrel's got to get a nut.
According to the arrest report, the 55-year-old and his girlfriend started to argue after she changed the channel away from the Super Bowl between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Kansas City Chiefs. The county sheriff's investigators say that a fight started between the couple, and White began to punch the victim in the face, which caused several injuries, including cuts on her face and chin, a bloody nose, and a swollen wrist and hand. Deputies also noted that substantial amount of blood droplets on the ground and the wall. White told deputies the victim was, quote, running her mouth, and it made him angry. He also told ASO and the victim slapped him and swung at him, and his reaction was in self-defense. Deputies noted that White had no visible injuries and his account was not consistent with the physical evidence. Here's the kicker. White had previous felony conviction for battery on a pregnant victim.
Whoa.
Yeah, so dude is like an epic piece of shit. And
Yeah, that's like level 8. That's like level 8 shitbag. I'm like, whoa.
yeah, he's kind of a douche canoe. You could have warned me. I could have muted your mic. You could have warned me.
Coughed into the mic early. You coughed into the mic earlier.
I'm muted. No, you heard that. You heard that. Nobody else heard that because I muted my mic. Yeah.
We need to have discussions about this kind of fucking recording etiquette before we actually hit the button then, damn it.
I got the buttons. I got all the buttons.
Yeah, common sense is not common knowledge. Thank you. Yeah, one would think that yes, it's common sense to mute your mic before you but no. You know, I figured that Raz takes care of it. You can see me finicking around in my chair.
Actually, I try not to look at you very much.
I can't hardly blame you. No, man. I mean, like, I can't imagine what this podcast would be like if you were suffering from overexposure to awesomeness.
Oh, my God.
Thank you for the button push, and now I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit of bodacity on top of that, too.
We're going back to Australia. A Moroccan woman, quote, kills lover, serves cooked genitals to tradies as a treat in the United Arab Emirates. So this is being reported in Australia, but it's actually in the UAE. A woman is accused of murdering her lover when she found he was planning to marry someone else and then cutting off his private parts and serving them to builders as a treat. The horrific allegations were made against a 30-year-old Moroccan woman who allegedly turned her man's genitals into a traditional Arabic dish known as makbous. Makbous. Well, a makbous is popular in the Arabic world. It is even the national dish of Bahrain. It is similar to the it's whatever. It's rice, meat, and chicken. After making the dish, the woman gave it to Pakistani construction workers near her home in the United Arab Emirates, who enjoyed it without realizing it allegedly contained something other than chicken. The couple had reportedly been together for 7 years, and the relationship ended when the man, who was 10 years younger than the woman, suddenly revealed that he had planned to marry someone else in Morocco. The woman allegedly flew into a rage and murdered him, cooking his private parts up in the dish. She said the rest of the body had been fed to the dogs, who were also allowed to gnaw on his bones, according to the court report. Jesus Christ. The efforts to dispose of the body were so complete that when the man's brother turned up at the house looking for him, the only thing that seemed to be left was a tooth that he found in the blender. The woman allegedly confessed to the murder and was taken to a hospital in order for her psychiatric condition to be examined. I don't think that guy's going to punch his woman in the face.
No.
I mean, they found a tooth. That's all they found of this dude was a fucking tooth. That's just insanity.
Literally got busted by the skin on his teeth.
Oh, God. Oh, God. No. Well, here's... I mean, what do you... that's just some scary, like, psychopathic shit.
Yeah. I mean, I think we could get Tim Burton involved and make a screenplay out of it.
And what did the Pakistani guys do to deserve to get fed this dude's dick?
Yeah, I mean, like, seriously, they're construction workers. They're probably, like, building something important. Ladies like, here, have a traditional dish that I made with my husband's cockles after I killed him.
And,
like,
you know,
oh, yeah.
It was so fucked up. They never even took her to the damn prison. They took her straight to the hospital and said, what the fuck? Ugh.
I
Cough it up.
No, I really don't have anything intelligent to say.
Fair
I
enough.
really don't.
Well, let's get
No.
on to the main event of the evening. This is great.
Oh, man.
It's a Florida man, and I've been saving it because this is our 5th Florida man story. So here it is before we get started.
Florida man, does whatever the fuck he can. Makes headlines every time. Florida's paradigm. Look out! Here comes Florida man.
Here comes Florida man, and it's pretty metal, says the man who turned his uncle's skeleton into a guitar. Florida musician says it is the best way to honor the man who introduced him to heavy metal. This is great. A Florida musician says turning his late uncle's skeleton into a sick guitar was the best way to honor the man who first introduced him to heavy metal. The Tampa, Florida musician, who goes by the moniker Prince Midnight, says he crafted the instrument out of the medically prepared remains of his uncle Felipe. It's pretty metal to play a guitar made out of a skeleton, I have to say, as he told As It Happens host Carol Off. Prince unveiled the final product called the Skelecaster on his Instagram. The Skelecaster is the result of a lot of bureaucratic wrangling, family skirmishes, and experimental craftsmanship, Midnight said. His uncle Philippe died in a car accident in Greece in the mid-90s at the age of 28, he said. Per his wishes, his remains were donated to science, and his skeleton was used in a medical school for decades. But then, one day, the school no longer had any use for the bones, Midnight said. Philippe's parents had since died, so the responsibility for his remains fell to Midnight's mother. Cremation was not an option for the Greek Orthodox family, he said, so his mother was stuck with 2 options: pay for a burial plot or continue to pay a monthly fee to store the remains. She didn't want to pay for that anymore, and I was like, I'll take care of it. So I went through the red tape, which is a tremendous amount of trouble. You've got to contact the funeral home, the state department's involved. Eventually, the musician was able to get Philippe's remains shipped to him in Tampa. At first, he says he wasn't sure what to do with them, and then inspired by the guitar maker friend, the idea was struck. It just popped into my head. I'm going to turn Uncle Phil into a guitar. And I was like, this is the best way to honor him. He would have loved the idea. Midnight says he's fond memory of listening to metal with his uncle and seeing him perform at shows. Uncle Philippe was a super metalhead. He got totally into the metal, and when I was a little kid, because he was my mother's younger brother, he was so close to my age and took me under his wing. The idea didn't go over well with his mother at first. When it first started happening, she was really upset. She says, it's sacrilegious. He needs to lie, and rest. And she was walking away, and I was like, you think Uncle Phil would rather be a guitar or a box of bones? She then threw up her arms and goes, probably the guitar. He beat her with fucking logic, dude.
Good. I believe Tenacious D said it. You can't defeat the metal.
Making the guitar was no easy feat either. No one's ever made a guitar out of a skeleton, to my surprise. So there's a little bit of learning curve. Originally, I was drilling into the vertebrae, the bones, and one cracked and broke. And so I was like, well, I've got to reassess how I'm going to do this. He ended up welding a metal bar into the spine and attaching it to the bridge and the neck of an old Fender Telecaster guitar. He then attached red and blue wires reminiscent of veins and arteries depicted in medical books. It's not a typical guitar, so it's got some quirks, he says. But sometimes the limitations we have with our tools are what makes our products great. When you're trying to strum inside of a rib cage, it limits how long your strokes with a pick could be, right? So he tends to make a heavier kind of tone when he's strumming. So yeah, it has a certain kind of sound, and I think it sounds great. But most of all, he says it makes him feel close to his uncle again. I feel like Uncle Phil is not just, fragrant. It's not just here. I can't even read this shit anymore. I feel like Uncle Phil is not just here figuratively, he's here literally too. I'm literally giving my Uncle Phil hugs while he's figuratively with me, creating, heavy metal riffs. So, what do you think a skeleton guitar sounds like, Buck?
I have no idea. Please tell me you've got some audio.
You would be shocked, but yes, I do. It didn't sound horrible. What do you think?
It's a novelty guitar.
It's definitely a novelty.
That's now I will say, truth be told, it's a great idea, and I believe that with a little bit of fine tuning, that guitar could be, quite a shredder. But
I love the portion of the story where the guy's like, his mom's upset. He needs to be laid to rest. He's like, what do you think Uncle Phil would want? To be in a box, or you think it'd be a guitar? She just throws her hands up. Probably the guitar.
and it's even funnier because they're a Greek family, right?
Yes.
They're Greeks. Yeah. You just see some Greek mom, just throwing her hands up in the air and like resigning to the fact that she's just completely been like sunk. Like boom. Just like the Greek hand throw resignation, like you just throw your arms up and I mean, like it's a hilarious mental picture.
It truly is. And that brings us to the end of another week's podcast, Buck. So I know you got plans. You're going to be busy all weekend, and I hope this brings you out of your slump.
Me too. I mean, like, I have a good seeing my buddy, man. I mean, like I said, he's been my friend since we were 9 years old. He's known me through every awkward, ridiculous stage of my life. I think he'll pull me out.
So are you going to take this opportunity that he's there to film Better Than Bad? No?
No, I don't know. He's bringing his wife and kid with him. But I mean, like, we might be able to work something out.
Because, there's people clamoring for Better Than Bad.
I know. It's still worse than good right now.
Your adoring public awaits you.
Like I said, we're just in a funk. It's a little worse than good, but we'll make it better than bad again, I promise.
Okay, folks. Just remember, you can check out all of our series on our YouTube channel. Just look up the Mount Moon Crew. You can also look up the podcast, the Social Liability Podcast, where you can see video versions of all of our shows. You can check out Buck's series, Better Than Bad. You can check out our friend Sadar's series of Just Pizza, which is her just literally reviewing store-bought pizzas, which is hilarious. You can check out me on my Twitch channel, which is twitch.tv/the_Razgrees01. I'm back to playing PTCGO again, and anything else that really suits my fancy. Might be even play Among Us again, who knows. That being said, folks, thank you very much for listening. Please like, subscribe, do all that kind of stuff that I'm supposed to say at the end of a social media type thing. And we'll see you next week on the Social Liability Podcast.